Hi guys, it's Amanda and welcome back to my channel. Today is the very first fall video of 2022. Can I get a round of applause? Thank you. As I was saying, today is the first fall video of 2022 and I have a little bit of a new setup. I got a new rocking chair. Today I'm going to be giving you 10 books you should read during this fall. I am so excited for this video. Let's get into it. So I have an entire stack of books here of books that are good for the fall season and for spooky season. I have a wide range of different books here. Some are scarier than others, some are classics. The first book I have here is a must. I usually like to read this every single year. I read some of it, parts of it, because I have read it before. And that is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. Oh my gosh. Anne Rice is one of my favorite authors of all time. She's one of my favorite people of all time. I love this story so much. I've performed songs from Lestat, the musical, because they actually did make this into a musical. It didn't last very long, but it still was there and it was still really amazing. But I love this, so I'll read the synopsis. This is a wonderful, wonderful story about a vampire. As the title suggests, it is an interview with a vampire. Someone interviews this vampire and this vampire tells him his life story. Our main character, Louis, he tells his life story and how he met Lestat, who is a vampire who turned him into a vampire, created him. This entire book is the interview. We go throughout their lives together and how much he learns from Lestat. Eventually, they find this girl that is dying and they change her. This girl's name is Claudia, so then this girl becomes a vampire and it's just a wonderful tale. Absolutely love the writing in this. Just vampires. I love vampires. I'm a vampire. I love it. Here are the confessions of a vampire. Hypnotic, shocking, chillingly erotic. This is a novel of mesmerizing beauty and astonishing force. A story of danger and flight, of love and loss, of suspense and resolution, and of the extraordinary power of the senses. It is a novel only Anne Rice could write. So you can read this book and you can also watch the movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. I love that movie. And also this year, I think it's October 2nd, they are coming out with a new Interview with a Vampire, and it's gonna be a series, but they're gonna make a new series. I think it's like a 3-part series, but it is set in a modern day. I'm really excited for that to come out and I cannot wait to watch that. Interview with a Vampire. Anne Rice. It's amazing. The next book I have here is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I grew up with Coraline. I read this back in 3rd grade, I think. I watched Coraline all growing up, and when I found out it was actually based on the book, I had to read the book. I absolutely love this creepy book, and I love how it is actually meant for children and how creepy it is, and it's for children, and I love that. We follow a girl named Coraline, and she's always wishing for something more than her plain life. So one day in her big house called the Pink Palace, she finds a door, a small, tiny door in a room. She goes through this door and it goes into a whole other world where she meets her other mother. This other mother has buttons for eyes. Everything in this world is exactly like her own world, but better. And we go throughout the story of her learning about this other world and the other mother, and it gets really creepy and I love it. When Coraline steps through a door to find another house strangely similar to her own, only better, things seem marvelous. There's another mother there and another father, and they want her to stay and be their little girl. They want to change her and never let her go. Coraline will have to fight with all her wits and courage if she is to save herself and return to her ordinary life. I love Neil Gaiman's writing in this. Also, the illustrations in this I love. Super creepy and I love it. So this is definitely a shorter book. It's only 160 some pages. It's very short. I sped through it. I love it so very much. I think the book is way creepier than the movie, actually. That's my opinion, but I love this. So this is a quicker, more lighthearted, but also not lighthearted read. Next book I have here is The Shadow in the Glass by J.J.A. Harwood. I actually just read this about a month or so ago. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but I think others will like it. It is definitely dark, spooky, has the autumn feel, and it is a gothic twist on Cinderella. When I read it, I honestly, like, it says there's a gothic twist on Cinderella, but there wasn't much Cinderella vibe. So yes, it is a gothic retelling of Cinderella, but it also really isn't. I mean, I don't know. That's what I thought. I liked it, but I also really didn't. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, I think. The cover art is beautiful. Beautifully gothic. It did have its gothic feels, so if you want a book that gives you that vibe, then definitely read this. A girl named Eleanor, and then this sort of like demon thing comes upon her and she makes a deal with the devil, and that's how the story plays out. She gets wishes and everything. But yeah, it's a very gothic Victorian book. I thought I would really like it more than I did, but I sadly didn't. But I know some of you will probably like this also. Once upon a time, Ella had wished for more than a life as a lowly maid. Now forced to work harder under the unforgiving, lecherous gaze of the man she once called stepfather, Ella's only refuge is in the book she reads by candlelight, secreted away in the library she isn't permitted to enter. One night, among her beloved books of far-off lands, Ella's wishes are answered. At the stroke of midnight, a fairy godmother makes her an offer that will change her life. 7 wishes. Hers to make as she pleases, but each one will come with a price, and Ella must decide whether it's one she is willing to pay. This is a longer book. It only took me like a couple days to read it though. This is like a 400-page book. The ending was weird, that's all I'm gonna say, but it was just weird. I think the ending is what definitely did it for me. I didn't like how it all wrapped up. This definitely gives the gothic vibes. This will be great to read this fall. The next book is one of my favorite books ever, and that is Dracul by Dacre, Stoker, and J.D. Barker. Oh, this book, oh my god, I love this book so much. I've read it twice now. Oh, this book was so amazing. It's hard to explain what it is, but you just have to read it to understand it. It's the life of Bram Stoker, and it's how he came upon Dracula. It's a mixture of the story of Dracula and Bram Stoker's actual life, and it shows how Bram got the ideas of how to write Dracula. In this book, it's basically saying that everything that's happening in this book actually happened. At the very end of this book, it has a lot of Bram Stoker's like writings from his actual notebook, and it explains what Bram actually wanted Dracula to be, because Bram Stoker wanted Dracula to be a non-fiction book. Yes, to explain the evil that is in this world, and he wanted to put it out there, but that was obviously, that didn't happen, but that was his original goal. There was a lot of different versions of Dracula, and a lot of them weren't published because it wasn't allowed to be published. I love this book so much. It's one of my favorite books of all time now. It's showing you that you don't know if this stuff is real or not. It is amazing. This is a work of fiction and non-fiction. Bram Stoker said, or it's rumored to have said, that the characters in Dracula are based off of people in real life. So they're saying that everything in Dracula actually happened, but just with different people. Dracul is kind of like a preface to Dracula, and I loved this so much. Has the wonderful gothic Victorian feel. It's spooky, it's raining all the time, and it's beautiful. It is 1868, and a 21-year-old Bram Stoker waits in a tower to face an indescribable evil. Armed with only crucifixes, holy water, and a rifle, he prays to survive a single night, the longest one of his life. Desperate to record what he has witnessed, Bram scribbles down the events that led him here. A sickly child, Bram spent his early days bedridden in his parents' Dublin home, tended to by his caretaker, a young woman named Ellen Crone. When a string of strange deaths occur in a nearby town, Bram and his sister Matilda detect a pattern of bizarre behavior by Ellen. A mystery that deepens chillingly until Ellen vanishes suddenly from their lives. Years later, Matilda returns from studying in Paris to tell Bram the news that she has seen Ellen, and that the nightmare they've thought long ended is only beginning. Oh, I love this book so much. And I always read this little splurb on the back from R.L. Stine. It says, "Reading Dracul is like watching a classic vampire film. Bram Stoker lives. Dracula lives. Horror lives on nearly every page. A terrifying read that gave me hours of fun." Author of the Goosebumps and Fear Street series. So much, please, for the love of God, read this book, because for anyone who likes anything creepy or just loves Dracula, you will love this book so much. It's beautiful. I'm choking on how good it is, sorry. It is beautiful, the writing, the imagery, the vampires. The next book I have here is a controversial one, but it's my favorite book of all time, so hate me if you want. But Twilight. Twilight! Don't even get me started. Twilight, I think, is just the best book series to read during fall. Especially if you do go to school, as you start getting into school and you're reading the Twilight series. Perfection. Twilight is my favorite thing of all time. Twilight! I love Twilight so much. So if you don't know what Twilight is, it's another vampire book. But Twilight is about a girl named Bella Swan who just moved to Forks, Washington. And she is the newcomer in this new town, a small town called Forks. She's going to school, and one day she comes across this family in the school named the Cullens, and a specific one named Edward. Edward. We go along the story of Bella and Edward meeting, and turns out that Edward is a vampire. And the story goes on from there. I love Twilight so much. I never given much thought to how I would die, though I had reason enough in the last few months. But even if I had, I would not have imagined it like this. Surely it was a good way to die, in the place of someone else, someone I loved. Noble even. That ought to count for something. When Isabella Swan moves to the gloomy town of Forks and meets the mysterious, alluring Edward Cullen, her life takes a thrilling and terrifying turn. With his porcelain skin, golden eyes, mesmerizing voice, and supernatural gifts, Edward is both irresistible, impenetrable. Up until now, he has managed to keep his true identity hidden, but Bella is determined to uncover his dark secret. What Bella doesn't realize is the closer she gets to him, the more she is putting herself and those around her at risk, and it might be too late to turn back. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. The next book I have here is a book that I actually just got last night, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I have not read this one yet. This is actually my current read, but I have heard so many good things about this book, this series. It's a trilogy, the All Souls trilogy. People have compared this to Twilight. People have said that this is a adult version of Twilight. It involves witches, obviously, and vampires, and werewolves, and demons, and other creatures, and a library. Count me in. Deep in the heart of Oxford's Bodleian Library, Diana Bishop, a young scholar and a descendant of witches, unearths an enchanted alchemical manuscript. Wanting nothing to do with sorcery, she banishes the books to the stacks. But her discovery has set a fantastical underworld stirring, and soon a horde of demons, witches, and other creatures descends upon the library. Among them is Matthew Claremont, a vampire with a keen interest in the book. Equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense, A Discovery of Witches is a mesmerizing and addictive tale of passion and obsession that reveals the closely guarded secrets of an enchanted world. Oh my god. I cannot wait to start reading this. I haven't started this yet, but this is my current read. The next book I have here, it just recently came out this year, and I'm really excited to read this fall. But that is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. This is a spin-off to The Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh my god. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love it so much. We watch it every single year, both on Halloween and Christmas. It just describes me in every way. Oh, in the back, I didn't read this yet, but the back says, the nightmare didn't end after Christmas. Sally Skellington is the official, newly minted Pumpkin Queen after a whirlwind courtship with her true love, Jack. Sally adores Jack with every inch of her fabric seams. If only she could say the same for the new role as Queen of Halloween Town. Cast into the spotlight and tasked with all sorts of queenly duties, Sally can't help wondering if she's traded her captivity under Dr. Finkelstein for a different gilded cage. When Sally and Zero accidentally uncover a long hidden doorway to an ancient realm called Dreamtown, she unknowingly sets in motion a chain of sinister events that will put her future as Pumpkin Queen and the future of Halloween Town itself in jeopardy. Can Sally discover what is meant to be true to herself and save the town she's learned to call home? Or will her future turn into her worst? Well, nightmare. I cannot wait to read this. This just came out this year. Everyone's been raving about this, so I can't wait to read it. Next book I have here is one of my favorite series, and that is the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This series I read back in 2020. I loved it. It's a 4-part series, and it is about a woman named Audrey Rose Wadsworth, and she cuts up dead people for a living, and I love her. So she practices autopsies on the dead, and it's a family business that she is a part of, and since she's a woman, she is not allowed to do most of what she does in public. So one day, she goes to her uncle's, to one of his classes dressed up as a boy, and she meets a charming young fellow named Thomas Cresswell. Throughout all of this, the famous serial killer Jack the Ripper is going throughout the streets of London, killing women. Audrey Rose and Thomas tangled up in this mess and start stalking Jack the Ripper to solve this mystery. He murdered women in cold blood. He terrorized an entire city. He taunted those of us who hunted him down. Despite all these horrors, in the end, I could not deny it. I was the girl who loved the Ripper. This series I love all of my heart. It's set in Victorian London, and it's gross and amazing. There's literally blood on every page. Literally the very first page, we're cutting someone up, so in very graphic detail. And there's even pictures. I really loved this book and the entire series. The twists and turns, it's really great. It's mysterious, and the romance in it is really great too. This is all set in October in 1888. We go from August 30th all throughout October in this book, and it's just fall all around. I would definitely say this one gives more fall vibes than any of the other books in this series, because this is actually set during fall, but it's creepy, it's gothic, it's Victorian, it's everything I love all put into one book. The next book I have here is obviously a no-brainer, but that is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter. Harry Potter series is wonderful to read, especially if you do go to school and you're going back to school, because this has obviously all the back to school vibes and Halloween vibes too. The Halloweens at Hogwarts are the best. They're so beautiful and so magical, and I'm so grateful to have this copy of Harry Potter. This is one of the illustrated and pop-up versions that I got last year, but it has all these pop-ups, and this is Diagon's Alley. It's so pretty. But I love this copy so much. It's a must-read every single year. I always read the books and watch the films every single fall season. Till now, there's been no magic for Harry Potter. He lives with the miserable Dursleys at number 4 Pivot Drive. His room is in a cupboard under the stairs, and he hasn't had a birthday party in 11 years. Then a mysterious letter arrives by Owl Messenger. A letter with an invitation to an incredible place called Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And there he finds not only friends, flying sports on broomsticks, and magic and everything from classes to meals, but a great destiny that's been waiting for him, if Harry can survive this encounter. Harry Potter series, any of the Harry Potter books are perfect to read during fall. The next book I have here is one that's not talked about at all. I haven't read this book yet, but it gives off fall vibes, not only just by the cover but by the inside of it, and it's such a beautiful book. But it's called The Quick by Lauren Owen. It's such a pretty book, because books on the book. Beautiful. So I don't know a lot about this book. I have not read it yet, but I do plan to this year. But it is a Victorian book. It's set in Victorian London, so that's all I really need to like a book. 1892. James Norbury, a shy would-be poet newly down from Oxford, finds lodging with a charming young aristocrat. Through his new friendship, he is introduced to the drawing rooms of high society and finds love in an unexpected quarter. Then suddenly, he vanishes without a trace. Alarmed, his sister Charlotte sets out from their crumbling country estate, determined to find him. Within this sinister labyrinth London that greets her, she uncovers a hidden supernatural city populated by unforgettable characters, female rope walker turned vigilante, street urchin with a deadly secret, and the chilling Dr. Knife. But the answer to her brother's disappearance ultimately lies within the doors of an exclusive, secretive club, whose predatory members include the most ambitious and the most bloodthirsty men in England. In her first novel, Lauren Owen has created a fantastical world that is both beguiling and terrifying. The Quick will establish her as one of fiction's most dazzling talents. It is so pretty, and it's big. Such a beautiful cover. It gives off very dark academia vibes, 100%. I love dark academia, and this is such a dark academia book. I'm really excited to read this. And the final book I have is The Library of the Dead. This is, again, another sort of dark academia book. I've only read like the first couple of pages in this. I did stop reading it for a bit, so I haven't finished this yet. And it involves a library, so of course I think I'm really going to like it. I've heard mixed reviews on this book, but in the front it says, "The Sixth Sense meets Stranger Things in a sharp contemporary fantasy following a precocious and cynical teen as she explores the shadowy, magical underside of modern Edinburgh." So it's set in Scotland. Ropa dropped out of school to become a ghost stalker, and she now speaks to Edinburgh's dead, carrying messages to those who were left behind. A girl's gotta earn a living, and it seems harmless enough. Until, that is, the dead begin to whisper that someone's bewitching children, leaving them husks, empty of joy and life. It's in Ropa's city, so she feels honor-bound to investigate. But what she learns will change her world. She'll dice with death, not part of her life plan, discovering an occult library and a taste for hidden magic. She'll also experience dark times, for Edinburgh hides a wealth of secrets, and Ropa's gonna hunt them all down. Very interesting, very dark academia-esque. I've heard mixed reviews, so I'm excited to see how and what I think about it. So that is all the books I have for you for the books to read during fall/spooky season. There's a lot more, obviously, but I just wanted to do 10 for today. So, if you have read any of these books or plan to, please do let me know. Please comment that down below and let me know. And I'm really excited for this year's fall season and to be our first fall video of the year. And there will be many, many more to come because fall is my favorite time of year and this is where I truly shine. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time that I upload. And if you want to find me anywhere else, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, GoodReads, Pinterest, and in between the pages of a book. And as always, remember to be the Captain Jack Sparrow of your story, and may your compass lead you to amazing things. I shall see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.